solutions when we are dealing with data integration. So basically, there might be multiple situations where there is multiple data streams who are generating data, and organization needs solutions in terms of integrating those data to a single solution where I would want to store them at a single location where it can collect data from different sources, or at the same time as I'm saving, I would want to run some analytics. I would want to integrate to some service and run analytics, and further more things what I can achieve. That is basically in terms of data integrations is what we are looking at. Now, the situation or the scenario is there are multiple data streams where my organization would be dealing with. One agenda is I might want to warehouse that particular data, right? I would need a solution. There could be possibility that the data which is getting warehoused at some point in time, I would want to run some analytics on it. I would run some analytic tools onto that data which is warehoused and bring out some solutions out of it. I would want to analyze my data. That could be a situation. Else, it could be a situation where having analytics on a live data, meaning to say that I would need to process some information in near real time as the data is in move. So in all these situations, an organization to achieve those functionalities. So at the very first hand, we are looking at data integration solution with data factory. Now, data factory, what is a data factory? We are saying this is a cloud-based ETL tool. Basically, as I discussed, that if my organization is dealing with situations where I have multiple data sources, where from where my data is getting generated, and I would want to ingest that data. I would want to go ahead and pipeline that particular data. Now, the reason for pipelining could be warehousing. The purpose for pipelining could be for running analytics on it. But anyways, the agenda is or the purpose is I would want to create a pipeline through which I can ingest the data to a particular requirement. So for those data-driven workflows where the data are getting generated from different sources, and I would want to create a pipeline and ingest that particular data somewhere. That is where my solution data factory comes to picture, where I can go ahead and orchestrate the data movement. And as you can see, there are three sections where the data sources is. The orchestration tool who would help us go ahead and achieve integration and warehousing the data. And I could have requirement of running analytics. I could bring those tools and run analytics onto that data. But that is something which is left to an organization. Currently, the focus is integration. I would have different streams of data to be ingested into different use cases or different locations or different storage solutions. Then I would bring in your data factory to go ahead and achieve the process of extraction, transformation, and loading it. ETL, extract, transform, and load is what we could achieve from your data factory. Similarly, if we have a look, if I want to integrate data again, but now we are saying that it is even from different source, but also at the same time, the nature of the data could be different. I might be dealing with structured data. I might be dealing with semi-structured data. I might be dealing with unstructured data. I would have any of these particular data streams or simultaneously all these streams in place, and all these has to be data warehoused. So basically, I would want a solution where I could store this, right? So this is where I have your data lake as a solution where you have requirements of achieving a data repository kind of an environment. I would have requirements of saving different files getting collected in different forms. And there is also a level of analytics which I can run onto the data which I would store over here. Basically, in a very large requirement, I would go ahead and use Azure Data Lake. Right? So Data Factory is also helping us ingest data. Data Lake is also helping us ingest data. The difference is basically the type of data where we are dealing with. Now it could be again different multiple streams, but the data nature will be same. And data lake, it would be something which would be dealing with multiple types of data, structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data. And I would want to store it at a very large scale. I would go ahead and utilize Azure Data Lake. Right. Similarly, when we have this, I might definitely want to have a look at areas to understand that how it is different from your blob storage, where blob storage is also referred as a storage space where it can be stored to any unlimited size. But what are the key differences? Why are we not utilizing Azure Blob and explicitly require data lake for it? So you can see whenever I need my data to be addressed in a hierarchical namespace, that is something which will not be achievable for me under blob, where this is following a flat structure, right? Else the requirement could be that my data where I am storing, I would want to have your Hadoop kind of workloads that is supported by data lake and not supported by your blob storage. So that is where we are dedicatedly dealing with data lakes. Similarly, your data would be much more efficiently managed here in data lakes when it comes to only dealing with that particular data. So you have got support of ACLs, shared keys, SAS, and RBACs. But when you talk about your storage blobs, you have got shared keys, SAS, and RBAC. So there is no ACLs which you could implement on your blob storage. Now, better management of your data access, you could achieve it with Azure Data Lake, right? Now, along with this, when we move warehousing, I might also want solutions using which I can analyze my data. The focus is analytics, and I would want something to be a part of the service where I am warehousing the data itself. Previously, whatever we are seeing is only focused on collection of data. If I would want to run or if I want to bring in analytics, that is a separate layer which I would want to bring in externally and then apply it onto the stored. But now, if I would want a solution which is at a single location and that is something which is managed as a, I mean, it is provided as a managed service, I would go with Databricks. As you can see, this is a fully managed cloud-based big data and machine learning platform, which will help developers to accelerate their AI and innovation. If you see the structures, you can see it is dealing with all the services like data warehousing, bringing your analytics, giving platform to run your machine learning runtimes, machine learning workflows. So it is a dedicated solution where I can centrally bring in the data and run all these analytics and manage my data. Machine learning kind of your Azure Data Bricks. So they have got different solutions for different purposes. Here, whenever we talk about solution, this is what we have to consider this. Every tool or every service has its dedicated workflow. Here, the agenda more or less is somewhere we are dealing with collection of data, analyzing the data and presenting it. But these three layers of collection, analyzing and presenting differs whether it is offered individually or you are bringing in individual services together and work it out, or whether you are having it as a single solution within the service. So this is what we are looking with Azure Data Bricks. We also have got something called as your Azure Synapses. This whole focus is in terms of more towards analytics. So this is what we are looking at. If you have data warehousing solutions, you could warehouse your data, and upon that, you could dedicatedly run your analytic tools onto this particular platform. So as you can see, Azure Synopsys Analytics is an integrated analytic platform that brings together data integration also, data warehousing as well, data analytics, and your single service. So whenever I have a requirement of performing real-time analytics, data integration, I want warehousing solutions and also want to run analytics, and I would also want to present it at a single pane. You have Azure Synapses as well. And at last, if your requirement, if an organization is dealing with some data, streaming data, and you would want real-time processing of data, all these tools what we have discussed now requires you to first bring in your data, streamline your data, store it, then analyze it, and then present it. But if your organization is dealing with something which needs real time processing of data and presenting it, that is where we are dealing with Azure Stream Analytics, data analytics for real time data processing. So if you would want to have real-time telemetry information about multiple devices generating the data, for example, your IoT devices, there are multiple IoT devices, and there is some data which is getting generated out of those IoT devices. And as the data is getting generated, you would want a real-time analytics to be run and the data to be presented. So for real-time analytics, like your telemetry streaming, your web logs, your basically clickstream media, right? If your organization is dealing with content delivery and you would want to run real-time analytics on the data, the performance of your application, analytics in terms of user information, anything in such areas, you would go ahead and use Azure Stream Analytics. Right. I'm aware that this is a very short module what we are discussing. Here we are just having a look at different tools and services in continuation of your data services, where if you are planning an infrastructural solution in any of these use case scenarios, where there is first scenario talks about data getting generated and you would want to just store it, collect it somewhere. One service, that is Data Factory. If there are multiple streams of data into different structures, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and you want to store it, data warehouse it in a single location, you have data lake where you are warehousing that data. Along with this, if the scenario is requiring running analytics on it, and it is something which is offered as a managed service and everything is offered into a single pane, this is where you will go ahead and use all these services, right? So with this understanding, we will mark an end to this particular session.